look, entrepreneurialism, it's kind of an interesting term because in some ways it's heavily associated with disruption. But it doesn't necessarily need to be that, does it? It needs to be, I kind of relate to entrepreneurialism really as about bringing together collaborations and communities. It doesn't necessarily mean to disrupt, although that could be one aim. But another aim for it could be to actually be able to sort of, pool resources, be able to share and collaborate in terms of everybody's joint experience with a particular subset of the community or what we're all sort of experiencing. And I think a part of that is also that, whilst the healthcare industry has a lot of rules and regulations around it that are, put a burden on the healthcare practitioner, we also need to find ways to actually care for the practitioners as well and provide much more support systems for, for being a healthcare practitioner and then also being in the business of providing healthcare services as well.
How do you relate to that? Yeah, I mean, you're spot on. I 100% agree. The first thing, I remember doing a presentation on Umbo maybe last year to a council, and afterwards, this gentleman came up to me afterwards and he said, what you're doing at Umbo is just so innovative. And I never thought of it like that, and I said to him, I didn't really see it like that. What we're doing is we're matching supply and demand. They do exist out there, but we're just using existing technology and methods to try and get the supply where the demand is, which is online. The second thing in terms of caring for clinicians, so particularly now in COVID-19, I believe people are feeling more insecure, more stressed, more anxious than they would ordinarily. So again, if you're coming from that point of view of let's lead with empathy and compassion, you have to apply that to your team too. We've done a number of things at Umbo, but one of the simple things we've done is at the beginning of every meeting, we have given everybody a space to just download a little bit. How are you feeling? What's going on? What's the things that's really bugging you at the moment? What things are you grateful for? What are you proud of in terms of your work? It's not, and meetings should never be the leader talking. Those are the worst types of meetings. But when everybody is speaking about their own experiences and having a space to share that, it's kind of incredible because at the beginning of COVID-19, everyone was very anxious. And once we gave them that space, they then transitioned from, sure, I've still got anxiety, but I've also got a job to do. And they put their heads down and they worked extremely hard. And that's why in the last 2 months, we've seen this enormous growth within Umbo.
And where's the growth coming from?
It's coming from the situation in some senses. I think that people are starting to see the value of online therapy. As I mentioned, of course, it's not something that we haven't been doing before. Umbo has been around for over 2 years. Some people have been doing it for a decade-ish. But I think this sense that, you can actually achieve really good results online. And without a lot of alternatives at the moment, with lockdowns and restrictions on movement, this seems to be a good option. The question then really is about, is this adoption going to continue after COVID-19 settles down? And what will things look like when we get back to, in inverted commas, normal? I don't know, and I'm not even going to try and speculate.
It's an interesting one. Yeah, it's an interesting one. What is normal? Is this the new normal? Does it persist? Do we just come out of lockdown and everything snaps back into where it was in 2019, for example? What do you think is probably the most likely scenario?
Well, in terms of our very narrow area around online delivery of health, I don't think we're going to see perhaps as exponential a growth maintained for that long. It's simply not possible. But I do think we're going to have a significant number of people using online delivery and then wondering when things go back to normal, we're allowed to move around again, why was I traveling hours to get this service, which is equally good online? Why was I spending money for my staff to drive all around cities or in rural communities? How come I've been able to do therapy in the house where the child is in their natural environment and see really important things, and I can't do that when I get them to come to my clinic? So I think there'll be enough people to see the benefits of it that'll be maintained afterwards. And the new normal will see a lot more of this. In general, I think we're just going to see a lot more of working from home, a lot more of online interactions. A lot of people have talked about during COVID-19 how they've connected with friends and family overseas. And haven't spent so much time doing. I've personally had the same experience, having lived in a few countries and reconnecting with people that I met over there, and it's been really great. So I think COVID-19 in general is an opportunity for us to question, well, what kind of normal do we want to have? And is it sustainable? What kind of society do we want to build afterwards? Do we want to continue along 2019? I don't personally think we should.
Yeah, I think the original part of the original vision of tele anything, back in the day, was that we were going to make all these big gains as a community, as a society, and the big issues such as pollution, environment, logistics, the urban sprawl, all of these things that I can remember from high school through college into the university system. These were kind of emerging issues, big issues that were being spoken about. Now they've sort of really dominated the mainstream political agenda. But yeah, you're right. So many people are seeing benefits now that when they do need to go somewhere in the car, everything's quick and easy, because there's hardly any traffic. There's a novelty and a kind of an excitement that I'm hearing through my family and friends around doing telehealth, and it's a kind of a topic of discussion that comes up, when we're in our online catch-ups with each other. It's like, oh, what have you been doing today? And oh, I had a telehealth appointment, with my doctor or with my my psychologist or whatever it was. And these are kind of, this is kind of I think the new pattern or habitualization, if you will, where any resistance that we had, perhaps when there was no pressing need to make the change, the pressing need has now forced us to engage. And through that engagement, we say, oh, that was okay, actually, and it was pretty convenient. And it worked pretty well. And and I've talked before about how much time it takes to actually do any kind of appointment, let alone a healthcare appointment, because of the whole logistical exercise that you have to go through, as an example.
Yeah.
So I think there definitely will be some persistent use of telehealth going forward beyond COVID-19, and now that everyone's infrastructure is in place, I think that might be the next area where evolution will come about. For sure. The tools that have been chosen, people will start to be able to actually really live them and see whether they're actually productive and really helping them, deliver the healthcare service or not, and sort of work through those kinds of refinements.
When I mentioned it before, we had this summit that we organised, 500 plus attendees, right around the first or second week of things getting a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
One of the key things I remember is someone saying, I've been wanting to do telehealth since about 2003. And it's always been on the back burner for me. But, and I'm paraphrasing here, nothing quite like a pandemic to get, your house in order. And I think about this a little bit because it's unfortunate in some sense that we need this very strong external stimuli to do things that potentially we should be doing anyway. And coming back to that topic of leadership as well, is that leadership and innovation shouldn't necessarily require the world shutting down for you to do something that has a lot of benefits, particularly for people that you're trying to serve. And it's very difficult to predict what that next trend will be. But obviously, the earlier you can get ahead of the curve, the more time you'll have preparation to, ride that wave when it comes.